All right, time to take a look at what's grabbing headlines here in France. The major story is the tragic situation in the Mediterranean. French papers are still in shock over a deadly shipwreck over the weekend that killed hundreds.
Absolutely. It's the biggest story today in the French press. Let's start with Le Monde, their website, bringing updates as they come along. Now, originally, 700 people were feared dead, but you can see this article in Le Monde. It's talking about how the UNHCR says that number could actually be closer to 800 with just 27 survivors. Now, a spokesman for the UN's refugee agency has called this the worst massacre ever seen in the Mediterranean. Now, the numbers really are depressing, and of course it comes after a depressing trend over the last months and years. And actually, Le Monde has actually crunched these very depressing numbers. Since the beginning of the year, there have been 1,600 migrants who have died trying to cross the Mediterranean. That's 400 a month, and as you can see in their title here, it says that's actually one migrant every 2 hours on average.
Well, of course, the European Union very much in the spotlight, Flo, with calls from across the world for a more organised response to this crisis.
Absolutely. That's really the message that's coming out in the French press today. Let's take a look, first of all, at La Croix, the Christian paper, says that in the face of this very heavy death toll, Europe is forced to recognize that action is urgent. Now, action can mean several things. So La Croix examines the various options that the EU has to fight clandestine immigration. And La Croix points out that the common denominator in all these recent tragedies is Libya. It's becoming a hub for human trafficking and a hotbed for terrorist groups, especially the Islamic State group, these groups that are destabilizing the region. So you can see here, this is the editorial of La Croix that's saying it's really urgent for the situation in Libya to be stabilized.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's an opinion that, of course, the Le Figaro shares, saying Libya is essentially at the heart of this problem.
Absolutely. If we take a look at the front page of Le Figaro today, they say, what can Europe do in the face of this Libyan chaos? Now, several options are being examined in the French papers, including Le Figaro today. So among these options are setting up a blockade in front of Libya, a naval blockade, if you will, to stop boats coming from Libya. Also, one of the options is to find a political solution in Libya or another military intervention. And this is actually what Le Figaro argues in favor of in their editorial today. You can see it talks about a second war in Libya. Europe is morally obliged to put an end to the horror. Now, Le Figaro says it's true that a military operation could complicate things further, but according to Le Figaro, it's better than inaction.
Well, Flo, other papers calling for a political solution from the EU.
That's right. L'Humanité, the communist paper, says that the EU finally has to take measures here. But in another editorial, it says it's not a question of fate. Europe is really facing the consequences of its increasingly repressive immigration policies. What Europe needs to do is welcome and protect these people who are fleeing hell. Those are the words that L'Humanité uses in another article. Not set up barriers, not wage wars. What they need is to protect these people.
Now, EU leaders under criticism scrambling to put together an action plan. That's due to be finalised on Thursday.
That's right. Not very much hope in the papers, it must be said. If we take a look at Les Echos, the main business paper here today, if we take a look at their front page, they say that the EU doesn't have any solutions in the face of this immigration tragedy. And actually, Les Echos is critical of EU countries for acting in an every man for himself kind of way, not coming up with a concerted effort. We'll see if they can do that on Thursday.
All right, well, moving on to other stories in the French press. Some papers are focusing on a new report about religion in the workplace.
That's right. Let's take a look at the front page of Aujourd'hui en France today. They talk about how when religion gets invited to the workplace, now, France, of course, secular country, issues concerning religion are often taboo, especially in schools, the workplace, etc. And all this, of course, has come to light in the wake of the Charlie Hebdo attacks earlier in January. Now, Le Parisien got its hands on an investigative report into religion in the workplace. And according to this report, the number of conflicts in the workplace over religious questions has doubled in the last year, and especially in the wake of the Charlie Hebdo attacks. Now, what are these conflicts we're talking about? Well, it's conflicts over being able to take time off for religious holidays, wearing religious symbols at work, praying during breaks, praying during during working hours. According to Le Parisien, everyone's on edge, especially in the wake of the Charlie Hebdo attacks. Now, they're actually on edge, they're on the defensive, and this actually encourages a lot of people to want to reaffirm their religion even more. And Le Parisien says all this is becoming a major headache for managers.
So the manager's going to have to be finding clear ways to deal with it and keep everybody happy in the workplace. All right, Flo, thanks very much for keeping us up to date with the papers.